Fortnite OG is not really OG. As much as we're all enjoying it, there are some things in Fortnite OG that are not the same as they were back in Chapter 1. The return of the original pump shotgun got everyone excited, but it actually uses the model from Chapter 2 of Fortnite rather than the original pump that we all knew and loved. You'll notice this for multiple weapons, including the scoped AR, the burst AR, even the rocket launcher, grenade launcher, and the one that confuses me the most, the hand cannon, which looks more like a normal pistol with the new design. And as much as I love using these weapons again, I do wish they looked like they did back in Chapter 1. If there was one place I'd land in Fatal Fields, it was the main house, and it was one of my go-to spots in Chapter 1, but for some reason it's been completely replaced with just a big red barn. It makes Fatal Fields a far worse place to drop with less loot than it had before, and seems like a really unnecessary change. Snobby Shores has also seen a house change to simply be a duplicate of the house next to it, and in Paradise Palms, two of the biggest rocks in that area were connected with a rock bridge between them, but for some reason Fortnite decided that we don't need that anymore and took it out the game. Talking of Paradise Palms, as you walk up to this area, the sign actually says the wrong place. It instead says Moisty Palms, which is actually the name of the area that was added later on in Chapter 1 Season X. For any of you that have come across the giant tree on the Fortnite island, I've had a few end games here where I've spent so many bullets trying to shoot this thing down and make sure that enemies couldn't use it to their advantage. But little did I know, despite the fact that you could farm this tree for 200 wood back in the original Chapter 1, now in Fortnite OG, this tree is completely indestructible. So don't do what I do and try and break it with your weapons. We all remember that Loot Lake was a really annoying place to get to. With shallow water that takes ages to stomp through, it is still just as painful, but there are a few little pieces of land that have been added into the island now, which makes it a little bit easier to get around. And talking of water, be careful. If you haven't played the original Fortnite, you won't know that swimming was never in the game, and landing in water and not taking any damage also wasn't a thing. If you jump off of somewhere high and land in the water at Loot Lake, you will take full damage. And same for the edge of the island. If you try and go for a swim, as soon as you touch that water, you will be eliminated. Now, although none of the vehicles on the island need any fuel, which is great, you can drive around forever, pay attention to the fuel pumps, because although these no longer give you fuel because it's simply not needed, they do now explode. Back in Chapter 1, this was not a thing, but that feature has stayed in the game, meaning if you're near a fuel tank, watch out. If someone shoots it, you could be exploded. A feature that was added in at the beginning of Chapter 2 has kind of been added into Fortnite OG. If you go up to a hay bale, you can now click on it to jump into it and hide, a feature that wasn't originally in Chapter 1. However, if you take that and then apply it to the dumpsters, which you could also jump into in Chapter 2 and hide in, they decided not to put that one in Fortnite OG. So just bear that in mind if you're trying to go and hide. Some of them work and some of them don't. Whilst wandering around the map back in Chapter 1, the only things you'd open are ammo crates or chests. So if you looked at a cooler, for example, you wouldn't think anything of it and probably just break it or walk on by. Back in Chapter 1, that's exactly what you would do. However, in Fortnite OG, coolers have the feature of dropping heals, so make sure you're paying attention to them if you are low on health, as it's a super easy way of getting a few health back. Campfires were a new trap originally added in Chapter 1, and they're back in the game, which is fantastic. However, back in Chapter 1, these campfires would give you health and that's it. But now, standing on the campfire will burn you and damage you, a feature that wasn't originally in Chapter 1, so pay attention and make sure you don't end up losing health whilst you're trying to get some health back. One of the biggest changes I cannot believe Fortnite did is actually in Tilted Towers. We've got the clock tower itself and then the big giant tower that everyone would land at, work their way down, looting, taking people out. It was one of the most popular drop spots in the original Tilted Towers. But this version of Tilted Towers has the no sweat version of that building, which isn't as big, isn't as tall, and isn't as cool, really. It was not the version of Tilted Towers that originally was in Chapter 1 Season 5, which is the season we're meant to be in right now. I'm starting a petition, and everyone can sign this petition by simply hitting the like button to let Epic Games know that we want the big tower back in the game, and you never know, maybe they'll change it back. There are in-game files letting us know that rift encounters will start to happen again in Fortnite OG, a feature that was definitely not in Chapter 1. again, so pay close attention as you may start to get random characters and random loot appearing around you as you're roaming around the map. The actual weapons and loot pools that are in the game aren't actually accurate of the weapons that were available back in Chapter 1 Season 5. As we go through the next few weeks of this OG season, they'll continue to add in new weapons, new vehicles, and the map itself will continue to evolve. But technically, since we're in Chapter 1 Season 5, we should already have the double barrel shotgun, the heavy sniper, dual pistols, compact SMG, minigun, drum gun, clinger, Auto Fortress, even the guided missile launcher that hasn't been seen in the game for thousands of days, and of course the super useful shockwave grenades. The good thing is a lot of these will be added in the next few days as we jump into the next phase of the OG map, which will evolve into the Chapter 1 Season 6/7 island. I cannot wait to land a 300 damage heavy sniper shot onto someone. Make sure you subscribe to see all of these future updates over the next few weeks. You may also have noticed that there's porta bunkers in the loot pool. This was not available anywhere near Chapter 1, but in zero builds mode, it's a really useful item, and I think they've chucked it in the loot pool just to help out people in zero build mode. And fun fact, the epic and legendary version of the pump shotgun and the legendary version of a tactical shotgun are now in the loot pool, but weren't actually added into the game until towards the end of Chapter 1. But even more items that weren't available back in Chapter 1 should be coming soon. The leaks suggest that these will be available through rift encounters in-game, including the kinetic blade and grapple glove, which I can't lie, would actually be really fun to use on the original map, so I'm going to be keeping an eye out for those coming soon. Despite the fact that we're getting weekly updates and map changes for the remainder of the OG season, there will actually be no locations from Chapter 1 Season 8, 9, or X on the island. I can't lie, places like Neo Tilted and the updated Mega Mall I wasn't a big fan of, but the entire Season 8 jungle biome, all the futuristic POIs from Season 9, and all the Season X throwback locations are not coming back, guys. By the end of this OG season, in just a few weeks, the island will actually be completely different to what it ever was in Chapter 1, with Flush Factory and Frosty Flights on the island at the same time, which has never happened before, as the ice portion of the map won't take up as much of the island this time, which I actually think is a really good thing. And Dusty Divot and the Comet will be on the island together for the first time as well. Lots more vehicles will be coming back, including the dirt bike, which is only added into far later chapters of Fortnite. And they're actually buffing the spawn rates of all the vehicles that will soon be coming to the game, so there's an easier chance of you getting the dirt bike, quad crashers, planes that will be returning, pirate cannons, and the drift boards, making them a lot easier to get and making getting around the island a lot quicker as well. So although that's not accurate to Chapter 1, I think everyone will appreciate it. And don't worry, although ATKs and shopping carts were actually vaulted back in Chapter 1 Season 8, they will remain alongside all the other vehicles as they're added in for the rest of the OG season. So although Fortnite OG isn't really as accurate as the OG Chapter 1 map and the things that are on it, I think all of these changes are actually a really good thing. I'm so excited for the rest of this season. To find out more about what's coming soon, click on screen here to keep on watching. So much is happening over the next few weeks, so I'll see you on this video with even more info.